So, uh, let's talk about these holidays, right? Since we're talking about kind of like holiday media and movies and stuff. You know the Santa Inc. You know the Santa Inc. I had the chance to. Santa Inc. is I know everybody's like kind of railing against Santa Inc. right now, as they should be. Um, and I wasn't gonna watch this thing. I watched it in its damn near entirety. I remember seeing a trailer when it came out, and I thought it was horrible, like abysmal, like abominable, like burn it to hell. Stupid ass trailer, and the the dislike ratio. Like I don't know. I mean, when you go on YouTube and you see like the ratios and stuff like that, at the time, well, at the time when I saw it, it was like I think 50,000, something like that. It was rising pretty quickly. And I remember telling my friends about it, about how you're gonna see that new Sending trailer. You know, it's this new show about first woman Santa or whatever the case. They're like, no. And I tried to show them the trailer, and when I showed them the trailer for that second time, they had turned off the comments, and those comments were brutal. Like those comments, they were going in on the show, bro. Like they were going in on the show, right? The comments were turned off, and that was when I discovered that they had got rid of the dislike button. Now, I haven't got a chance to see what the actual dislike is now. I'm pretty sure there's some people who have been showing what that is. But essentially, it's been hated this entire time since the release of that trailer and since the release of the show. But the fact that they were willing to turn off the comments and they were willing to take off the dislikes and all that kind of stuff, that was controversial to me. But when I saw that, I was like, yeah, I have to watch this show. I have to watch it. So I have to see that either people are just trolling and maybe this show is more than what it is, and they're just kind of like baiting people to come see it. So I said, I'm going to watch the show. Fuck it. I'm going to watch the show. And I watched the show. 4 hours of my time. It's 8 episodes, by the way. So, man, 4 hours of my time that I could have been planning for this show. You know what I mean? I could have been writing on my scripts. I could have been doing auditions, and instead, I decided to waste it on a stop motion piece of shit. So the show's about this lady elf that is trying to like become the first woman Santa. Now at the first dime of that, I was just like, that's impossible. Because Santa is not like a role; it's who he is. That's his name. You can't be Santa. You can do his job. You can do his job, I guess, but Santa is Santa Claus, bro. You can't do that. So she's trying to become the female Santa Claus. And she is essentially um griping about how how sexist the workplace is in the North Pole. So let's just talk about how funny this show is. The jokes in here essentially are unfunny as fuck. It was just more like that was the extent of my laughter. And I only did that 3 times throughout this entire show. If I was at a comedy show and I was watching this guy perform for like an hour and a half and I only snickered 3 times within the first 40 minutes, I'm leaving. Not to mention, the jokes were always ruined with like critique of how offensive they were. You know what I mean? So they'll have like a sexist joke of some kind, and then you'll have Candy, the character, the elf, the Candy elf person. You'll have her critiquing how that's offensive, and she'll go on this little soliloquy about sexism and misogyny and all that kind of stuff, as if that's supposed to be like a punch back to the joke, like a counter to the joke. And it didn't work for me at all. Mostly because it's like, I mean, for one, it's a joke, but you would think that she would kind of like punch back with another joke. But she punches back with like a lecture, like a mini lecture about how sexism and all that kind of stuff. And it just kind of it just makes the joke just it makes jokes on both ends of them fall apart because for one, that punchback is not funny. It's not funny at all. Two, as the audience member watching that and snickering at it, I felt like the character was making me feel bad for laughing at that joke. You know, and I didn't feel bad about laughing at the joke. I thought the joke was funny because it's a fucking joke. But for her to like kind of come out with some, misogynistic or, women have to go, all that kind of stuff, it was just like, why do you work here then? It was just like that throughout the entire show. Like every joke had to be followed up with how offensive the joke was with her and with her friends or whatever the case. And it was just like annoying, got annoying as fuck. The far extent that she would go, the character, she would go with her jokes with just like lazy ass dick jokes. You know what I'm saying? And they weren't funny, not because they were offensive. They just wasn't funny. But I felt like the show was so pretentious and just so self-indulgent with itself that they probably thought that joke was like so funny. And I was just like, okay. And I'm just looking at the show like, okay. It's like these jokes were so dumb. Like when she jokes, it's so dumb. And then when somebody cracks a joke and it's actually kind of funny, she'll say that's not funny because patriarchy. I'm just like, girl, like you are so fun at parties. For this show alone, it's really hard to ignore that the trope that they're using as far as the wokeness goes, it's just not working in their favor, like at all. Like it's just too on the nose with a lot of these jokes, man. And just the story itself. The story itself is all the way just throughout preachy as shit. And I told you guys before, like in some of my review videos, I don't like when movies try to tell me how to think. I don't like when movies try to tell me how to talk or tell me how to treat people, things like that. Just entertain me. And the show, in a lot of ways, did a lot of that. You know what I mean? Especially with some characters would like crack a joke. You know, you guys are getting what I'm saying. Like it was just a lot of that preachiness that was happening. And with all of that being said, it just dragged the story, the actual story of the show. It just dragged it to a halt. Like I was so bored watching this thing. I fell asleep twice in the 4 hours of watching this. I fell asleep twice, and then when I woke up, I didn't even bother rewinding it because I just couldn't wait for my life to. I couldn't wait for this journey of me watching this 4 hour piece of shit to end. But to be fair, to give it some credit, which is kind of hard to do, the animation is pretty top notch. I do like the style of animation. I think it does fit within the niche of Christmas. You know, like when you have Christmas holidays coming up, and you have these Christmas shows popping up and stuff in TV and things like that. I think it matches well with all of that. Stop motion works with a show like this. And some of the character designs were dope. You know what I mean? I do like the detail that they put into like, the elf and some of the reindeer and like Santa Claus. First of all, Santa Claus, who's played by Seth Rogen, looks just like Seth Rogen. Okay, like he looks just like Seth Rogen. Like, I mean, even just when you hear his voice behind him, but ultimately he's dressing up like his attire. Like he's wearing the hoodie and the jeans and the Jordans. You know what I'm saying? Like he looks like a weed smoker. And I think the voice acting too was actually pretty solid. I think Sarah Silverman does a really good job. Seth Rogen, he does a decent job. I'm not gonna stop. He does a decent job. I've heard better stuff, but I think he's cool. And oh my god, gee, like let me just talk about this for a second. So the reindeer, and I don't know if anybody noticed this. Well, I don't think anybody watched the show but me, but let's just say if anybody was watching the show. The reindeer in here are literally supposed to be like the black people of the show. You know what I mean? Like because all the reindeer characters are voiced by black actors. Like you got Gabby Sidibe and Craig Robinson playing both reindeers. But reasons why I say I think they're supposed to be black people is because they're like the character I can't say the word caricatures. There we go. Pat, come on, man. Caricatures of black people. Look, I don't care about that kind of stuff. It's cool. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's a comedy. Things can be forgiven. I don't really care about that kind of stuff, right? My issue though is that if this is supposed to be a movie about, or this is supposed to be a show about progressiveness and inclusion and equality and things like that, why are you mocking black people? It's just that kind of hypocrisy that, I started to notice watching this kind of stuff. It's like if you're trying to say something about inclusion as a show and you're doing shit like this, you're kind of killing your own argument there. That's all I'm going to say. Everything else is trash. The character, the main, what's her name? Candy? Something? The elf. The woman, the main character, the elf. So unlikable. She's so unlikable. All she's doing is just complaining about patriarchy. And it's really, it gets to a point where it's like, okay, look, are you going to sit here and just try to climb this ladder of the North Pole, or are you going to keep on complaining on the way? You know what I mean? And there's other things too, like the show tries to address Christmas like it's this all straight white male thing. And growing up in my entire life, I've never thought of it as just this straight white thing. You know what I mean? I mean, look, there's been other forms of media that try to criticize Christmas and they're cynical about, Christmas, and they talk about how people, it's a spending holiday, it's used for this and that and stuff like that. And I get all that kind of stuff. But ultimately what those shows tried to do was bring the spirit of it all. Because when you talk about the spirit of Christmas, fuck the gifts. Fuck going to the store, fuck the Christmas tree, all that kind of stuff. You have families coming together and just giving things and just enjoying being with each other. You know what I mean? And it's that giving nature that we all have that we can actually express to each other. That's what the spirit of Christmas is really all about. It's really all about all that kind of stuff. And when you try to reduce it to just, no, it's all about corporate interests. No, it's about just spending habits. No, it's about just, white people trying to, impose capitalism on the margin, all that kind of stuff. It's just like, it's just a bad take on Christmas. Just a bad take on Christmas. And this show is all just about shitting on Christmas, man. Like there's no positive, no warm, fuzzy feeling that you get in this show. It's all just, them preaching about when you make the first women Santa Claus. I had a first black successor. I gotta do this. It's patriarchy this, misogyny this, racism this, all this kinds of stuff. And look, okay, but what about the trueness of Christmas are you going to talk about? And they don't talk about that at all. The energy is just so cynical. And I think that's why I was just so bored with this stuff. Because it's like, how many times are you going to just keep on, preaching to me about how fucked up our country is? Like, come on. Like, yeah, there's things about holidays that's not perfect, but still, like give me something to because it's supposed to be like a holiday show still, But by then I was just bored. I was like, you know what? I can't. I tapped out. Even when I was still watching the show, I just tapped out listening. I tapped out watching because it's only so much I can take. Can we just have fun here? Can we just have some fun here? And as a black audience member watching this thing, you know what I mean? I find it very patronizing because I'm gonna be real. I know that show is probably for people like me, maybe probably for black women or something. But the show is I know because I kind of understand the formula now. I know shows like this are for people who are people of color, women, LGBT, whatever the case. You know, they're not necessarily for straight white men. If you're a straight white man watching this, you're probably I would think you probably would feel like, why are they shitting on us all the time? You know what I'm saying? And as a black man watching this, I just feel like they're condescending, my experience because, you know, working with people or being in the corporate world, all that kind of stuff. If I want to climb the ladder, I know how to do it. There's going to be some issues for sure, but I don't need everybody to remind me how shitty the world is. You know, I already have my experience to tell me that. I don't need people to actually say the world is shitty to you. You know what I'm saying? And I felt like by them sort of trying to incorporate all of these woke tropes and things like that, and then at the same time allow for offensive jokes. It's like if you were fighting for a side, you're doing a bad job of that. You know, you can entertain all you want, but just entertain. You don't need to pick a side here in the realm of entertainment because at this point you're trying to have your cake and eat it too. You're trying to say you're for equality, and yet you still have a knack to say some fucked up jokes. You know what I mean? You can't mesh those two. Just shoot. You know what I mean? Either just go all the way or just go this way and do your thing. I was just so bored, bro. Like, oh my god! But look, these talking points that are kind of like floating around the internet. Like these internet talking points about massage and things like that. I understand it and I do get it. But 4 hours of just hearing that shit gets old really, 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 really quick. And then, oh my god, just show the blatant, the over the top, absurd versions of misogyny and things like that with the male characters. You know what I mean? I mean, clearly the show is not for kids, that too. But it's like, man, for an adult, don't make me feel stupid because I'm not stupid. I know what they're doing with this, and it's just too much of that. And I'm trying to be as unpolitical as I can, but the show is just that doesn't work. It's boring. It's too preachy. Animation is cool, but the story is not really something interesting to follow. And the character sucks. The character sucks. The main character, it sucks. Even the Santa sucks, and it's not even funny. That's the ultimate thing. And for a comedy show, it is not funny at all. The show was stupid. But what do you guys think? What do you guys? You guys can tell me about the show. Did you guys watch the show? Did you guys like peek it out and just kind of see what it's about? What did you guys think of the trailer? Did the trailer like woo you away from it like it almost did me? Because I'm the curious person. When I see trailers kind of like causing things like dislikes going away and comments being turned off, I'm like, you know what? I want to see what all the fuss is about. I want to see why they had to turn off the comments. But what you guys think? Let me know in the comments what you guys think, and we can talk about it.